We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Will joins us, and it's apropos that he would join us um, because we had very interesting news. We had a shit show in the White House, and if anybody gets riled up, it certainly will. We're recording this early today. We're recording this about 1 o'clock my time, Central Time, 1 p.m., and it'll air for tomorrow. But what we watched, Will, well, first of all, thanks, Will, for coming on.
No, my pleasure
Ed,
always.
Ed,
Thank you.
Ed canceled on me. I had a live yesterday that was taken down. I can't use that, so I'm catching up here, and I can always count on Will or Eric and or some of the others to come on. What I want to talk about from the start is the biggest story that we saw yesterday as you listen to this. And it was this press conference that Donald Trump had in the Oval Office. Now, he had one with Macron and he had one with the Prime Minister of Britain. And it was embarrassing. He told a lie. Each time he told the lie that Europe is only paying so much in their loans. He was corrected by Macron. He
What
was
loans?
corrected by, yeah, there were no loans. It's just all bullshit. And then he did it to the prime minister, and the prime minister corrected that situation, and that was embarrassing. But what I saw yesterday in this press conference with President Zelensky was easily the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen an American politician do. And that's saying something when you consider all the fucked up shit that Donald Trump has done in the last 9 years. Donald Trump basically became unhinged. He threw a tantrum. He was a bully, and he looked absolutely ridiculous. Why don't you explain to the folks what happened in case they missed it?
Yeah, so in case you all missed it, and you can find it anywhere, but don't go to mass media. Look up Aaron Parnas on
Yeah.
TikTok, and I ran across it today just before we started this meeting. This was the impotence of starting this today. First of all, I went ahead and played hooky from work. I'm taking into consideration that February 28th, I ain't doing shit. I ain't buying shit. My coffee pot died today. I ain't getting it until Saturday or Sunday. If you see this or hear this, please hope you're part of it. That being said, so I really wanted to take a break. I'm in the middle of eating my brunch, lunch. I always eat late. And Aaron Parnas popped up on my Substack. I opened my Substack, and there it was. He didn't even comment on it. I guess I can't comment. He rate the video. If anyone who's ever watched any kind of politics, you know that there's a pseudo press conference and photo op in the Oval Office with the chairs, and everyone sits and makes nice, and then they have
Right.
their meetings. So Trump is with JD Vance and Zelensky. And for some reason, from the point I saw the video, JD Vance went off on Zelensky, just went off on him about Ukraine, and you are not grateful. And then he went with the lie that you're putting conscripts onto the front line. No, motherfucker, that's what the Russians are doing.
Yeah.
They're not, that's what the Russians are doing. And he kept going on and on, and Zelensky pushing back. Zelensky pushing back. And then he goes, "Well, you never said thank you." I'm going, "What the fuck are you doing? What is this a playground?" And then Donnie got into it. And at that point, to be honest, guys, when Donnie got into it, I shut it off and just stewed for a minute. Mike and I are in our 60s. We've probably been following politics all our lives. That's who we are.
Yeah.
Um, I have seen Soviet leaders go to the White House and have those press conferences. People who are sworn enemies of the United States, Chinese leaders, sworn enemies of the United States, be treated with more respect than what I saw there today. That was the first time in all my years of watching this that that's ever happened in open. If you want to have that discussion behind closed doors, hell yeah.
Well,
More than
that's
likely, it's been discussions like before, but God Almighty, that was
well, that's
fucking embarrassing.
people have to understand what happened here. Now, before Zelensky came, and I wasn't even sure Zelensky was going to come. He hadn't decided till
I
the
don't know
last.
why he did, but go ahead.
No, I don't know why either. Maybe, I don't know. But Donald Trump was telling everybody, yep, we got the deal done. Remember that came out of the White House. The deal is done. He'll come Friday. We will sign it. And I said to people at that point, don't buy into that. because you're in a negotiation with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not a decent, reasonable man. I said, Zelensky's going to get there, and he's an intelligent man. Donald Trump is trying to shove this down the throat of the American public, trying to shove this down Zelensky's throat. But the way it's worked out was they were talking about, they were talking nicey nice at first, and then a question came. And this is what really triggered it. From the press, they said, how does this guarantee Ukraine's long-term security? And you know what Donald Trump's answer was? I'm not even thinking about security now. We can't think about security until we get the deal done. Well, how can you do a deal if you don't know what you're getting in return? And see, this is what Donald Trump was trying to do. He wanted everything and to give Zelensky and Ukraine nothing. I mean, initially, when he was talking about this deal, this was just payback for money we already gave him. So it didn't give them any assurances going forward. So why would Zelensky sign that deal? He wasn't required to pay this back. It wasn't a loan, and it wasn't a loan from Europe. No. So Donald Trump basically wanted to take his mineral rights off of him and then say, let Russia do what they want to do. And Zelensky's not stupid. He saw that. And as I told you, when they got there and they actually talked about it, what Donald Trump says is one thing. He's a pathological liar. Zelensky's going to say, no, I want something. And that's what pissed off Donald Trump. He was sitting there in the Oval Office saying, I want to make sure we're secure and we don't have a war. And somebody said, well, can we be assured that Russia won't come back at some later date? He says, who knows? We can't guarantee anything. They could drop a bomb on us here. These are all red flags. You don't sign a deal with a motherfucker like that. And Zelensky is smart enough to know that. So when Zelensky pushed back, Donald Trump does what Donald Trump does. He throws a tantrum. He's a fucking child. He's not getting his way. And he does what every narcissist does. He said, ultimately, he says, you have no cards. With us, you've got cards. But if you don't want to sign this deal, we're out. And that was the telltale sign of what we're dealing with and who we're dealing with. Yep. We're dealing with a narcissistic bully, and Zelensky would be crazy to sign a deal with him because he'd give away all this stuff and he wouldn't be protected.
And that's exactly what Putin wants.
Yeah.
As you said in your video, and I said in mine, this just showed the world what's going on. And my take at the end of my video is simple. If you're a European country and you're seeing this, I would recall my ambassadors right now.
Yeah.
I would recall my ambassadors back home. The English ambassador, the French, the Germans should call their ambassadors back as a warning to the United States. Because let me put it this way. They have already met with Zelensky and committed money and committed weapons. And unlike what these idiots think, honestly, they don't, NATO as it stands is not something that Vladimir Putin wants to fuck with. Again, and I said this several times, I said to you in my videos, one of the lasting things left over from the Biden administration is the strength of NATO. NATO had been depending on the Americas and the United States a lot. Joe Biden basically told them, look, I may not be here.
Yeah.
And you may get stuck with something you don't want. So you better be strong. And they did. That's why what you're seeing in Europe is a pushback. Because basically, we don't need you. They don't need us. I'm sorry, guys. That's the truth. They don't need us because a solidified NATO is something that Russia doesn't want to fuck with. They think he could take NATO out. They could kick us out of NATO and say, we're good. They don't need us. And it's not about money. It's not about money. And it's about military strength. The military strength is there. Trust me. You guys don't get it. The Russians don't want the Finns or the Swedes coming down. Those are strong armies. And the thing about Zelensky and that whole thing is that this is all built on a lie, Russian propaganda, and the lie that the far right have been feeding everyone for years, that the United States is the only superpower in the world. Yeah. That and anything we say is done because what we say goes. No. It's not working like that anymore. And the Chinese are laughing at our asses because the Chinese are backdooring us left and right. And
Absolutely.
they don't
And
get it.
Russia,
In Russia.
Russia's
But
Vladimir Putin
Russia,
won today. He's the only one that
yes,
won.
and the Chinese, and the thing about it is, the war, if he walks, and if I was Zelensky, I would have walked out and said, we're done. I'm out.
I would too.
He should have. And I think that's what's going to happen. And when the war will continue, but it will still be a stalemate because
Yeah.
he's not going to do so, because Putin's not getting what he wants. Short of literally nuking Kyiv, he's not getting what he wants
No, no. I
because
mean,
the
this doesn't.
European
This
countries. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
it saves Vladimir Putin from having America involved, but it doesn't win this war for him.
Nope.
You know, JD Vance was in this meeting too. Donald
Oh
Trump
my God.
absolutely embarrassed himself, but JD Vance did too. He admonished Zelensky for not being appreciative or not being
Yes.
respectful. And then he has the ironic thing is you're not being appreciative. What's ironic is that JD Vance, when he was a senator, voted against sending money to Ukraine. So fuck you. He's not appreciative of you, you piece of shit. But then
Did
he
you
says
catch that?
this.
Go ahead.
This is the ironic thing of what he says. He says, and then you come on national television to be disrespectful to the president. Do you think Zelensky wanted to sit there and negotiate it in front of TV? No, that was
No.
Donald Trump's idea. Donald Trump thought he could bully his way through this, and he got slapped in the fucking mouth. Now he's embarrassed. Now he's blaming Zelensky for putting on TV. You're in the fucking Oval Office. These are American press. It isn't Zelensky. It's you, you dumb motherfucker.
And the worst part is you part of that video with JD Vance. Hey JD, let me make this clear. You don't look tough. You don't sound tough.
No, you ended your
No.
career today.
Yeah, he's just look. Do what you go. Let me make a suggestion for JD Vance in the future. Just become a new spokesman for Sephora,
Yeah,
please, because
yeah,
women always admire your eyeline skills and your
yeah.
makeup skills. So you have a job offer behind after this, but you didn't look tough and you sounded foolish. And to drop a line like, because Zelensky did support Kamala Harris, he did make that comment in Pennsylvania, and so he went. Well, you went after you supported our opposition. Oh, okay, this is where we're going, right? Because they knew, because Zelensky knew that Harris would be better for him. He had his opinion, but it isn't good for you guys because you're just a bunch of. I just don't know how to even describe these guys, because everyone tells me that everyone, especially the Gen Z males, young guys who live alone with their mom and dad and blame everyone for their problems, see Vance and Trump as alpha males. Motherfuckers, you wouldn't see an alpha male but bit you in the ass. Okay? Even with
Yeah.
my bad knees, I am an alpha male. You know why I'm an alpha male? And why Mike's an alpha male? And most of the people that are associated with the inner around us are alpha males? Because we don't yell at people. We convince people to go along what we want. That's called leadership. It doesn't work
I
like that. Yelling and screaming does not fucking work. You guys don't get it, and you never will.
I will tell you this though. I never think of alpha male or beta male or anything like that, and whether I'm alpha or not under any circumstance, I don't know. I don't really care, but I will guarantee you this: I am nothing more than a beta male when I'm around my wife or my granddaughter,
Oh yeah,
because
that's
I
exciting.
am not in charge. I don't make decisions at that point.
Oh God, no. Oh no. Let me rephrase that. Around other men. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not.
yeah. You know,
See, but see, that's also makes why I would say that we. I know I don't like the term anyway, but I want to put a relationship to these what these guys think it is. That also makes us alpha male too, because we recognize the other people in our life,
yeah,
women, other people, and we recognize that they're a strength for us, not a weakness,
yeah,
not a person
absolutely.
to push down. Because without my wife, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I know that in my life, even where we're at right now, and to make her disappointed in me is the equivalent to having my mom disappointed in me.
Yeah.
I would rather my mom pissed off than
You're
disappointed saying
making it
something
kind of
wrong.
weird here, buddy. You're making it a
No,
little
but it's
weird.
okay. You guys know what I mean. But you see our point. The problem we've seen with all these guys, like Trump, Vance, and all the people on top, they think that yelling and screaming is going to makes them um make them tough. It's the old bird thing when you raise up they raise up their wings and they're bigger than they are. But you see, the problem is people are starting to catch on to it. And you want a great example at Tom? Is it Holman? Because all I see is that fat fuck's face every time he
I,
speaks.
I say
Um,
he's like if Porky Pig and Droopy Dog had a baby. That's who
and
the fuck he is.
before you all say, "Well, you're fat," why you making fun? He makes fun of people too. So go fuck yourself. That's where I'm at because I know what I am. But he threatened Boston. Did you see that bullshit? Because the Boston police commissioner said, "No, we're not cooperating with ICE, and if you come here, we're not going to help you." And he says, "Well, I'm coming to Boston, and hell's coming with me." And dude, really? And I'm like going, I don't know. No. Yeah, go ahead. Boston scares me.
Yeah,
Boston scares
Boston.
New
I'm
Yorkers.
s- I'm seeing a lot of videos
Boston
pushing
scares
back
people
against
from
Tom Homan.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, they
Okay.
don't fuck around there. It's going to be interesting. I want to say something about this meeting too. A lot of people
Mhm.
will think that they had this dust up, this shit show of this meeting. A lot of people will say, well, they'll probably go off and figure this out and calm down. That's not what happened. Donald Trump put on Truth Social. He said, well, apparently President Zelensky isn't ready for peace yet. Maybe someday, if he's ready for peace, he can come back and we can talk about it. And then President Zelensky, they showed the video of him walking out of the White House into a fucking car and getting the fuck
Yep.
out of Dodge. There
Goodbye.
was no deal done here. In spite of what Donald Trump tried to shove down our throats, there was no deal done. And I will guarantee you, professional and lifetime diplomats were absolutely horrified by what happened there. Nothing like that has ever happened before, and Donald
No.
Trump burned down uh, that deal. He could have done the
Which,
deal, but he would have had to give something back to
yeah.
Zelensky. But by giving it back to Zelensky, Putin wouldn't be happy with that.
Yep.
I mean, what
Which
Zelensky needs
tells,
is money and weapons to fight against Putin. And Donald Trump wants the minerals. And did you hear the whole time Donald Trump is talking about, yeah, the raw earth minerals, the raw earth minerals. Stupid motherfucker, it's rare earth minerals. If you're going to be
I
president
know.
of the United States and you're going to be negotiating, at
How?
least know what the fucking shit is called.
So explain something to me about that because I heard that. And I'm saying, okay, how is he going to sell that to the United States itself? Again, this is the epitome of stupidity for all Trump fucks and Trump himself. Trade doesn't work like that.
No,
It doesn't. The United States would not own the rare earth elements leases. That would be through a private company who would import it into the United States. It
right.
doesn't work like that. I mean, it's like the same thing what they talk about. We're just going to do make oil here in the United States. No, it doesn't work like that because the oil leases go to the companies who pump the oil from the land from the owners, and then it goes into the system. It doesn't work like that. That deal was not even going to work because there's no such thing of a country buying the rights for those. It doesn't work like that. It goes through companies. It's
Well, I think what
insane.
Donald Trump wanted to do was get the rights and send a company in there of his choosing where he would probably get a taste and bring the rare earth minerals. Understand something. Why is he so concerned about the rare earth minerals? I'll tell you why. Because he's putting tariffs on China. And China came out and said, yeah, we're not going to give you any rare earth minerals anymore. And we
Yeah.
get most of them from China. So he had to find a way to fix that. And then when he said, this was the telling point. They said, how much money are you going to give Ukraine? He basically said, well, it depends on how much money we make from the rare earth minerals. So he's not even giving them cash. He's going to rob them, pull that out, and whatever monies they get, he will give them a fraction of that amount. That is such a
That's
fucking horrible deal. I'm going to give
that's
you
not.
rights to something very valuable, and then I'll pay you back with the profits we make from your shit. That's just no wonder Zelensky wasn't going to sign that. And I said this beforehand. There's no way there's going to be a deal done because Donald Trump's not willing to give anything in exchange. He's the big guy. He's the powerful guy. America's powerful. You should be grateful to give us shit for free. Sorry, the world doesn't work that way in the real world, Donnie.
And it never worked that way ever in business, period. Well, it worked because he would stiff every contractor and they would have to sue him, and then he would end up with free work, free whatever. I mean, a man who could run a casino into the ground tells you everything right there. Um, this is just the epitome of bad business. Okay. You keep talking about, well, he'll run the America like a business. Well, if we ran America as a business, then it's give and take. This is works for you. This works for us. This is the benefit to you. Most businesses are run like that. Businesses that do not run like that fail. Oh, well, that sound familiar? Like Trump. And
Like
he's
everything
also
Trump's done.
does. And the thing about it is, he could never run a real business. He could run real estate because you can gaslight real estate. You could
Right.
fake the way money is made in real estate. That's why the markets collapse because you get inflated prices of stuff that doesn't exist. If that makes sense, that's how he made money. He lied through his entire life. But when you get into the actual X's and O's of true business, he doesn't know how it works. And that's why him trying to extort, which is a mob move, extort
Yeah.
peace from Ukraine, he wasn't going to give them peace. It's not going to work. And basically, also the backup on the rare earth elements. Yeah, the Chinese didn't even give it to us, but the problem is he pulled the plug on the Chips Act,
Yeah.
so we can't make the motherfuckers here anyway because they took the money away. So they'll probably be made in China. You see that there's just it's an insane thing that's going on. It's just chaos, pure and absolute chaos. I've never seen chaos like this ever in a government. And they
Yeah.
keep saying like under Biden and all that, it was no, it was running smooth. I didn't hear from Joe Biden for months. I heard what he was doing, but I never heard from him every day. You notice we see Trump every motherfucking day on TV. He needs it. He works it. He has to have it. The press used to lambaste Biden because why hasn't he had a press conference? Why do you need a press conference? Why?
Yeah.
You get the press secretary every day. She gives you what the president's doing. What the fuck do you need Biden for? That was the insane thing that's going on. Now you have Trump every day, and what do you get? Bullshit, insanity, lies,
Embarrassment.
embarrassment. And it's like, I don't know, and it won't stop because, to be honest, the press loves it. Let's be honest, the mass media loves this shit. They
Oh, of
think
course
this is
they do.
making them money. It's not. It's not, but they think it is. And it's like, I we hit everything last night at the live. Those who saw the live, all of us in that live last night were just pissed. And the reason we're pissed off is that it's reaching the point of we don't know what to tell you guys anymore what to do because I have never seen this. I thought it was going to be bad. I never thought it was going to be this. The
Yeah.
chaos. I thought Republicans, you thought Republicans might have some common sense. They don't. They don't. They live in this bubble. They really think at the end of all this, they're going to come out ahead. They really think if they pull Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, fuck with it, it's going to be okay. That people will still love them. And they got a taste of it with the town halls, and then they ran away from them. I did a video that Mike Johnson has set out a memo from the speaker's office. Don't do it anymore. If you do it, do it a Zoom. If you do it live, vet your audience. Make sure they all love you. And I got a guy said, no, he didn't say that, he's lying. I go, you motherfucking, you know. He said it in a memo, and then he went on CNN and said all those town halls were a bunch of staged actors,
Yeah,
Democrats.
that's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I saw him say that, and this is part and parcel to the way Republicans do things. They divert, distract, delay. They do all this shit. Uh, those were actors at those town halls. Like all they arrested was Antifa on January 6th. It's absolutely
Right.
bullshit. I'm very entertained by watching these videos of these meetings. They're getting absolutely annihilated. And you're right. They're saying, yeah, don't do the meetings anymore. There was a meeting set up in my own home state of Minnesota, and it is a district up in the northwestern suburbs and up into central Minnesota. The rep there is Tom Emmer. And there was video from that event. Tom Emmer is an absolute piece of shit. He is a Trump humping, ignorant, big, stupid, fucking white guy. And I wish I had the chance to meet him because he would not have a pleasant experience. Not afraid of that motherfucker, and he needs to be taken to task. Anyway, they have this meeting, and everybody's around and excited and getting ready to go. And guess what? Motherfucker doesn't even show up. You pussy ass bitch,
Yep.
Tom Emmer. He's a fucking pussy ass bitch. I'm thankful
And they,
he's not my representative.
yeah,
But
and
but
go
the
ahead.
thing about it is what I think they should do. I think they should do, since the Republicans are afraid of it, there are people in these districts upset and they need to be heard. So I think Democrats or independents should have town halls in all of these places and say you're invited, your Republican guys are invited, they won't come, but we still need to speak out and find out what's going on. It doesn't even have to be a Democratic led thing, but we need the voices to be heard, and we should still have those town halls whether the Republicans decide to fucking show up or not.
That's a good idea. If I'm it also if I'm thinking of running against somebody, I should do it. I mean, the point I know Republicans say, well, they're just a bunch of Democrats. Really, I would make sure that hey, if you're a Republican voter and you're upset, I'm going to give you a voice because they don't want to give you a voice. That's a smart move. I don't think Democrats would do it because it's a smart move. Um, yeah, that would be great. And I think also, I think it's time, and maybe we should be the infamous. Maybe some of us will hear it. Do you remember all the Zoom calls for Harris?
Yeah,
It's time to do the same for
I agree.
um,
I've said that before. Yeah, we need to start out these massive Zoom calls and keep
the Zoom
the
calls.
narrative going.
Yeah, and just say that, basically, are you Zoom calls for federal employees that have been fired for no reason other than Elon Musk has a hair up his ass to get rid of everybody?
Right.
Tell us your stories. Tell us what's going on for you. I think TJ put it on the really well last night on the live. These people are working stiffs. They are not a leech on the United States. They worked for us. They had a paycheck, and you took it away from them. Now they don't know what to do. And the only people happy about it are the rich. And if you're a person of a Republican voter and you think that they're saving you money, they are not. Because these people are now about to go on unemployment. These people are about to go into whatever's left over of the SNAP system. You people have no empathy for anything. And I'm going to bring back something I brought up on the live, and it is about something that Marjorie Taylor Greene said about the federal government. She said about federal employees that she doesn't care that they got fired because they're just worthless. They don't bring any revenue into the government. And I'm going to say this straight up with all non-respect. Bitch, you have no idea how the United States government works. They
Oh,
aren't
they're stupid.
revenue, they're not revenue creators. Taxes are the revenue that come to the United States from the states.
Right.
They are putting in blunt, in easy terms for everyone to understand. Because this is the problem. Everyone sees these huge um, uh, agencies and think that they're run by the person on top. No, that what it is that the income comes into the United States Treasury, and then the Congress, or used to, determines how it's spent, and the government agencies with their workers are customer service.
Yeah.
They service the money to go out to other people. The federal government's money idea is not to make money. We are not a fucking business. We should not be run like a business. We should be run like a government to service the people. Income comes in, taxes are set, so we can meet our needs for the people. And every person that you fired, including your sad ass, Green, get paid by the taxes and the customer service. Because you are, believe it or not, you dumb ass bitch, is a public servant. You serve me through my taxes. That's what these fuckers keep forget up on that hill. They are our public fucking servants. They don't rule us not by blood or anything. They were elected to serve us, to service our taxes. And they lie to us every motherfucking day about their helping us by getting rid of Medicaid to make sure that people don't have any health care, that disabled people can get what they need, that children in schools that are disabled are going to be fucked once the Department of Education is gone. Oh yeah, they're cutting the Social Security workforce. Good luck getting your check coming up in the next month or so. IRS is going to lose a lot of people. Good luck getting your refund. You guys who keep encouraging this do not know how the world works. You live in a bubble. And you know
way the
what?
government
I,
the way the
go ahead, sir.
government is supposed to the way the government is supposed to work is they collect taxes. We use the taxes to serve us to cover expenses, whether it be for reps or senators or programs or all that sort of thing. There is never any intention, or I don't even think they're allowed to do anything that makes a profit. Now, where this
Yes.
falls down is if it's working perfectly, we bring in taxes, we have programs, and we balance the budget. But nobody's been able to do that since Bill Clinton. So here's the deal. Here's where we fall down. We're not going to make a profit. We bring in money. Where we fuck up is when we go beyond our means and we go into debt. Now the Republicans want to say they're fiscally responsible. Okay, motherfuckers, then explain to me how fiscally responsible it is to add $4 trillion to the fucking debt when
Yep.
when Donald Trump was in last time, you added $7 trillion. So what they're suggesting is basically going into debt as deep as you can and give as much money to the wealthy. That's not how this government's supposed to work. We're supposed to collect the money, cover the programs. If we need more programs, we raise taxes from the rich and we pay for those programs. We shouldn't have to go into debt and we shouldn't have to look to make a profit because we're not built to do that.
Right. And debt is not a bad thing. Let's kind of back up a little bit. Even if you watch Hamilton, a little bit of debt helps services what you want to do. I mean, honestly, the house I'm sitting in here, I'm in debt, but I service my debt in order to live. And if I
Right.
do my service debt correctly, I get it brings back more for me. That's the way government should work to an extent. I'm not going to get into that because I think that's been kind of perverted over the years. But the problem is when you have $4.3 trillion of dead debt, that's not because if you spend it for people, because people hated what Biden did and he puts it in debt, yeah. But if you put money in the CHIPS Act and into infrastructure, those people work. They pay taxes. Money comes back in. That's servicing your debt. You're getting something out of what you put out. You know, that's like taking a loan to get something that's going to benefit you in the long run. That's the way it should work. The problem with this, it's dead debt. You're giving a tax break to people who will not invest back in the United States. They're just putting it out in their pocket. They're just basically want
It's
to
a bad
lay it out on
investment.
a bed and roll naked in it because they don't give a shit about you. It's about
No.
more and being more powerful in order to do it and to make the rest of us think this is what happens when you're poor.
In the 1980s, I was in my 20s. And in the
Mhm.
1980s, it was cool to have debt. Have as many credit cards as you want, get a nice car, get a big house, have all kinds of debt. That's the way to do it. Unfortunately, the problem is people go into debt because they don't have money. So they go into debt and they maybe start to get more money, but now they got to service the debt. So they still have no money. It's a vicious circle. And then you do the last thing, the last stage, the downfall of your financial situation is you're in debt so much that you can't handle it. So what do?
Go
You go in
bankrupt.
further debt to save your ass for the moment.
Right.
And then ultimately it crashes. And that's what the Republicans are trying to do in this
Right.
situation. Add 4 trillion, 5 trillion, 7 trillion. Actually, when it's all said and done, over time, it's going to be more like 20 trillion. That's going to save us
Yes.
from our financial issues. Trust me, I did it on a smaller scale in the 80s. Don't motherfucking work.
And again, responsible debt. What's a responsible debt? I own a mortgage. Okay. I service my mortgage and I keep that up. It keeps my credit score up. That's responsible debt.
If you
Okay.
didn't have
Paying
a
whatever
mortgage,
it
you'd
is.
have rent. So it's money spent
Yeah, it's money
either way.
spent. Yeah, I mean, you can get into value added. You can get into choices. Those are things that people who take economic courses know. I have. The point being is my perfect no. Do sometimes I spend money I shouldn't? Yeah, but that's what everyone does. Okay, that's beside the point. The
Yeah.
point is what you're seeing right now is what basically what they're doing is they just are doing. I don't even know the logic behind it because now they're not even talking about trickle down theory. They're not even bringing it up. They're
No.
just doing it because they can,
Right.
and they're not even giving us reasons other than that one stupid senator who said, "Well, people shouldn't be on Medicaid; they should have a job and have health insurance." Hey, motherfucker, do you know how many jobs give health insurance? Do you know they're working people on Medicaid and
Yeah.
on SNAP because the minimum wage is $7.25 fucking cents? Do you think people get health care from Starbucks or McDonald's? I mean, it's insane. And then well, then they can buy it from the ACA. Isn't don't you want to get rid of that too? The point
Yeah.
being is it's all a gaslight for reasons I have no idea other than maybe Rebecca's right. They just want to own the libs because they
Yeah.
know it pisses us off. So people poor and destitute is a good thing because it makes other people angry who care about their situation they shouldn't be in.
Right.
Explain to me how that's a good thing, y'all, because I'm still fucking waiting for a direct answer that makes sense to me. You haven't given me one yet.
No.
Not at all. Not one of you Trumpa fucks.
Yeah. There was something James Carville said, and I want to talk about this because you brought it up. James Carville gave a recommendation on what we should do now with all that's going on, and I disagree with him. Um, but James Carville says the Republicans are going to implode in 30 to 60 days. Just sit back and watch. And you've said that, and I've said that. Let it burn down. And I understand the strategy in that, and there is some truth to that. Um, but ultimately, this is going to take such a toll. We're already seeing it with the town hall meetings and the protest and the calls and all this stuff. There's going to come a point where the pressure is on the Republican Party so much that they have to do something. I mean, they can't go into a fucking restaurant now without getting shouted down. They can't go to a town hall meeting. And as more and more people are affected by this, Republican people, the red states particularly, they're going to get devastated if they aren't already. And this is going to cause an uproar. This is going to cause a pushback. And ultimately, the Republicans are going to have to do something because they're the only ones that really can at this point. The Democrats can
Right.
block things, they can slow things up, they can do that, but the Republicans have the control, and they can either watch the demise of the country and their party, or they're going to have to do something. As much as it's distasteful to them, they're going to ultimately have to do something. And I think they will. I don't know when.
I don't know. The only thing that concerns me on that, Mike, is that if this was a true budget bill, they wouldn't have voted for it. If it said that we're taking this money, we're taking Medicaid out and all that.
Yeah.
But they sat down and came up with a strategy with this budget blueprint. I'm sorry. Someone in the press said, well, you need a budget blueprint before you can do a budget. No, I've never, ever, ever heard of this fucking thing. This was a a gaslight or way to get around saying, well, you cut Medicaid. No, no. We just told them to take out $880 billion and just happened to be Medicaid. I
Yeah.
didn't do it. So they bought it. That tells me right there that a lot of these guys want to do it, but they don't want to pay the price for it. And
Right.
now Mike Johnson and his minions figure out a way to get around it. Now, if they do it this way and it happens, to an extent, we can't stop it. So I kind of understand James Carville situation, this thing,
Yeah.
because at that point, it ain't on us or the Democrats. There's I and I do this, and people go, well, "Why does he do these analogies?" Because it kind of makes sense to me, because it makes people easy to see. I'm a big fan of the show The Rookie, but they had a episode about LA wildfires, and two characters had to get under one of those fire tents, the reflective, and
Yeah.
hopefully the fire would wash over them and they'll survive. And at the end, they did, and they stood up, and the forest was just burned around them. I think right now, for all of us, a lot of us, is that if the Republicans have chosen this way to do it to protect themselves, thinking they're going to get away with it, then we need to take our own little fire shields for all our family and us and cover up and wait for everything to burn away. Because they will. They will get burned. And then we can stand up, okay, now we can fix it. Because
Yeah.
until they see the actual destruction, because the thing about it is a lot of them are fooling themselves at this point with the town halls. That's just a bunch of few disgruntled people who didn't vote for you. Fuck them. Until they actually see the devastation that they wrought, and then people finally go stand up around and go, "This is what's supposed to happen." That's when we can step up and go, "Okay, now we have to fix it." It's a bad thing to think, but at this point, if they had done a budget bill and the Republicans said, "No, we have to figure something out," I would agree with you. But when they came up with this plan to gaslight everyone into doing what they want, that's telling me the Republicans are ready to go the whole way. And that's a
But here's
scary thought.
the problem.
Right.
Here's the problem with getting this done. When
Mm-hmm.
they worded this bill, this blueprint, if you will, it
Mm-hmm.
was their goal for reasonable deniability. They
Right.
didn't put Medicare in it. They didn't put veterans. They didn't put kids in it. They assigned it to committees or whatever,
Committees.
and then the committees would have to do it, and they basically passed the buck down the road. Now, if they did that under the cover of darkness and nobody knew, then they would have won. But as soon as it came out, Democrats and people and media were saying, this is what it means. They want to take 880 billion or million or whatever out of this committee. And it just so happens that's the exact amount that Medicare or Medicaid is. So it was revealed what they were trying to do. It's hard for them to hide from that. Secondly, in order to pass a bill like this, it's got to go through the Senate. And they have a problem with the Senate because the Senate already approved an entirely different deal. So the Senate isn't going to buy into the House deal, and the House isn't going to buy into the Republican deal. So we have kind of a stalemate. To think this is just going to fly through and the Senate's going to vote for it, that's not going to happen because they
I mean,
know how
mhm.
devastating it's going to be for them personally. And we found out they only give a fuck about their own position, their own job. So they're going to try to protect it. There is no unity on the Republican side, and that's going to create the stalemate, at least for a period of time.
The only thing is that when confronted with that information, Mike, literally, I've seen all these confronted with this information to their fucking faces. Most of the Republicans say, no, I'm not cutting Medicaid. We're just letting the committees cut this budget by that amount.
Yeah,
They
that's a
are
pussy way
sticking.
out. That's a pussy
It's
way
their.
out.
I mean, it's their lie, and they're sticking to it. They're going to stick to it. They're going to stick to it because they really think that Donald Trump is going to get into some kind of promised land. The promised land, I have no idea.
Yeah.
What there's this promise. There is no plan. There is nothing other than chaos. I mean, we're talking about the budget. You know that they by them cutting all these jobs like this, they're causing chaos already. The government is failing as it is. Trump had every federal workers um, credit card that draws money for certain items reduced to $1. There was a lady who was talking about veterans benefits. They have buses that pick up vets to go get their to go to the VA for their appointments because they can't drive or incapable or disabled. They can't buy
Yeah.
gas from them because they cut them off. They're already doing it behind our backs. They're already doing it. They're already causing suffering, and they don't bring it up. The mass media doesn't bring it up.
No.
I'm hearing this from parade creators, Midas Touch. They're coming up with this stuff. They're already doing it behind our backs. The Congress could just say, I had nothing to do with it. That's the they already said that's the executive branch decision. We don't handle that.
Yeah.
Like they're not part of the government anymore.
But
Trump
here's the
does what he
thing.
wants.
They can gaslight all they want, but when it actually hits the Republicans, and it is hitting the Republicans, you can't gaslight those folks. When something bad happens to them, they're looking for somebody to blame. They can't blame the Democrats because the Democrats don't have the power. They have to blame the Republicans, and they will turn on the Republicans just as quickly as they bow down and pray to them. People are very selfish and self-centered, and they should be because nobody else cares about them. But when their parents' medical is cut off. I'll give you an example. Medicaid.
Right.
Medicaid covers a lot of things for kids and elderly people. But more importantly than that, it is this almost the sole support of rural hospitals. They will
Yes.
have to shut down rural hospitals. And what do we know about rural areas? They're heavy Republican, heavy Trump fuck. So when they start taking down hospitals and people have a heart attack and they have to drive 2 hours to get help and they end up dying, this is going to hit home very quickly because it's not just about money and food. It's about their very mortality.
Yes.
And you're going to have people, Republicans in the streets with torches and pitchforks.
Well, and the thing about it, going back to what you're saying about Medicaid, 1 in 5 Americans use Medicaid. Now, if you do the percentages, it took me a minute. That's 20% of America.
Mm-hmm.
That's 20% of Americans that's going to cut off from Medicaid, from medical help. That's going to pay back. But going on, do they care? All you got to look at is what RFK's response to the measles outbreak in West Texas is to tell you how much they really give a fuck about people. They asked him straight up, "What do you think?" He goes, it happens."
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, there's a dead child. Who gives a fuck, right? It happens.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. I'm really getting to the point that with a lot of Republicans in this shit, when you're talking about how it's going to affect people, how they're going to literally, it's going to kill people. It's going to
No
kill people.
question.
We know this. Yeah,
It already
but they're
is.
basically they're going to go the route of Scrooge. Then they should die and decrease the surplus population. They literally feel that way. That guy Emerson, the dude you were talking about, in your that district, I'll
Tom Emmer.
guarantee you he feels that way.
Oh,
And they
yeah.
feel that way about school lunches. Fuck them kids. I mean, that's what it is. Because they live in a world where they think if someone gets any kind of help from the government, they didn't do their life right. I don't care if you're a 6-year-old kid in first grade trying to get a free lunch. Fuck that kid. He should have known better. He should get a job.
Yeah. Well,
I
that's
mean,
the
that's the
attitude.
mentality. And that's what it's so hard to fight because those people in those rural districts you're talking about feel the same way.
They feel
They
the
don't
same
think.
way.
Go ahead.
But when they elected Donald Trump president, I firmly believe that they believed that Donald Trump was going to wreak havoc on Democrats, but not Republicans. And when they find out it's hitting home with them and their friends and their family and their businesses, they're
Mhm.
going to be pissed. These are mouth breathing, red meat eating pieces of shit. And when they're mad, they're going to go after whoever they're mad at. They're going to blame
Right.
somebody and they're going to blame their reps. They're going to blame Donald Trump. And this will ultimately be the downfall of the Republican Party because these people will have to react to that. They can't say it's all Democrats ultimately because they're going to be inundated by pissed off Republicans.
And I hope that's true. Um, the actor Zachary Levi, who's a bit disappointing to me, a big Trump fuck, he asked the Trump administration, you should fire federal employees, but only those who are not MAGA.
Right.
Those who are not MAGA, fire them, but keep them. No, it doesn't work like that, guys.
No, it's
You're
everybody.
finding out. Yeah, he doesn't need you anymore, as you've said several times. They don't need you. He's got Elon Musk now. He's got his sugar daddy, and he Trump does not like to do the work. He likes to do
Doesn't do
the
any
performance
work.
stuff. Yeah, the performance stuff, like you saw in the Oval Office. That was a performance,
A
because
poor
it makes him feel
performance.
poor, but it makes him feel big. I mean, even afterwards, when Zelensky left and all this true social shit, that's just showing, I did my job. I showed him who I am. Okay,
He
we know
thinks he
this, but
won
that's
that. He thinks he
yeah.
won
Because
that
he
that
won.
that
I
that
won.
little. He thinks he won, but that was easily the most embarrassing, pitiful performance by any president in the history of this country.
And
And I
and
would be
so
happy to
Elon
debate
Musk
anybody on that.
and what Elon Musk is doing his thing is because Trump's just say, do what you want. I don't care. Just let me do my thing. Okay, great. That's why in the cabinet meeting, the cabinet meeting, the president should be the lead in a cabinet meeting, not Elon Musk.
Elon Musk
He's
shouldn't
gonna
even have been there. He's not in the
yes,
cabinet.
yeah, and it's like he's speaking for everyone, and Trump is playing on his
Yeah.
fucking phone. I mean, it's like, and then I think you caught this, or someone said, I think it was you, that they caught, no, it was someone who said they caught Trump on a hot mic after the
Yeah.
cabinet meeting, going to Fox News, going, hey, tell everyone it was a great meeting. Tell everyone everything went great. Dude, we watched it.
We saw it, motherfucker. It
We
wasn't a
saw
great
what
meeting. It was a
happened.
horrible meeting.
And then right after the meeting, you cut Social Security employees. You went after Noah. I mean, it's like, I don't know what it's insane. This We are living in a time of insanity. I am watching my country burn, literally. And Nero is up there, but he isn't Donald Trump. He's Elon Musk, just fiddling away, having fun, making jokes, and we're just sitting here. The rest of us are going. People. I saw that one. The older woman you had. On your Ilania. Help me.
Alona.
You, Alona. Okay. I get where she came from, why she just disappeared for a while. That
Oh, I do
first,
too. I do too.
I totally get it. Um, but she's standing there right now going, we warned you. The hardest thing for all of us right now is that we told you. We fucking told you. We told you for months. And now it's worse. Because I really didn't think that Elon Musk would be this. I didn't think he was going to do this. And basically just go after the government structure by just knocking it out. Who needs Congress when you can just do that and no one stops him? None of the courts are stopping him. And the
No.
thing about it too, that money is still frozen. By the way, the Governor Pritzker of Illinois said we still have gotten our money. We keep talking to them. They said, well, we don't know. The money that they said that the court said you have to give to the states is still frozen.
Well, an interesting note, when Elon Musk was talking in that press conference in the Oval Office, uh, this motherfucker, I don't know how people suggest he's smart because he's one of the most inarticulate motherfuckers, second only to Donald Trump. He's scattered. He doesn't stay on point. He doesn't explain anything. He stutters. He stammers. You talk about Joe Biden stammering. This motherfucker is a bumbling fool. But he was kind of laughing about, yeah, we make mistakes, like we made the mistake about Ebola, but we fixed that right away. Guess what? The officials from the Ebola program, they said, no, he hasn't. It's still cut off. The funding is still cut
Yeah.
off. So Elon Musk will stand there and lie to you. And I'll be honest with you, some people have suggested this to me. They said, Elon goes in there. He's so arrogant, so narcissistic. He thinks he can do all this stuff and then put it back together perfectly. I think he's realizing right now he can tear the fucker down, but he doesn't know what he's doing when it comes to putting it together. He's proven time after time he has no fucking clue what he's doing.
And then you add in the incompetence that is the cabinet itself. You're
Yeah,
talking about Ebola. You know who's in charge of that mess? RFK
yeah.
Jr. And it's like, it scares the piss out of me because there's one creator who's a doctor who's trying to make up for the CDC alerts that have
Yeah.
been dropped.
Right.
And you know what I'm talking about. He had a report today that every year the CDC has a meeting about what flu vaccine we're going to present out because the strains change. And the
Right.
meeting should have been today. It was canceled.
Right.
Why was this meeting canceled? He doesn't know. What is going? I mean, that's the thing. There's they got rid of funding for NIM. They got rid of funding for cancer research. They got rid of funding for Alzheimer's research. They got rid of funding for all this. The CDC is sitting here in Atlanta going, we don't know we're going to exist. Okay.
Right.
Oh, by the way, guys, for the rest of you who think that's a good thing, do you know what they store at the CDC? Do you know what they store in there?
Tell
Yeah,
us.
yeah. Be scared, because I am. I'm 40 miles east of Atlanta. That scares the hell out of me. And the thing about it is like he's totally incompetent, and he's in charge of this, and they're getting rid of these things because they don't think it's important
Right.
that America shouldn't be involved in that. I mean, I did a video saying, look, we were proud of that. We were proud to be the leader in technology and medical and bio research. Now these guys have gone anti-science. Why? Because they don't remember? I mean, I guess they don't remember what disease is. They need to remember disease. I'm waiting for the first child to get polio again and watch what happens.
Yeah.
I really
Well,
want to see the first polio outbreak
you
again and
brought
see
up
what
the
happens.
cabinet meeting with RFK, and RFK is director of human services, health and human services. And they asked him about the measles outbreak in West Texas, where there was 58 people. Now there's 135 people, maybe more than that. At least one child has died. That's the first time a child has died of measles since 2002. There was a woman in 2015 that died up in Washington or something. There are now measles in Washington too. When you and I were young, we got shots, a lot of fucking shots. I remember being in a gymnasium in my elementary school, lining up, and there's a
Hmm.
nurse with a vaccine gun shooting everybody one by one by one by one. And I will tell you, I got a lot of vaccines and I never felt one bit of adverse reaction to it. And I never got measles. I never got polio. I never got any of those things. So when RFK is asked about it, like you said, what are you doing about this? It's no big deal. It happens all the time. We're looking into it. Not a big deal. And that comment was reminiscent of Donald Trump when we were talking about COVID. And we
Yep.
know how COVID ended. 1 million people died because Donald Trump did nothing and said it wasn't true. Now, RFK is doing the same thing with measles. I'm going to tell you what,
And
my grandkids, if 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 my grandkids, they're going to get all their vaccines. I know their
yes,
moms and dads are for it, but even if they weren't, I'd kidnap those little fuckers and I'd get their vaccines
right.
because I don't care what Republicans say. You're stupid motherfuckers. You're killing yourself. And God bless you. I hope you go to the vast beyond because you were stupid. But my family's not going to be doing that.
And part of the problem too is like, you know, the excuse is that well, they're just illegal aliens. No, dudes, no, they're Texas. I mean, there was a woman asking people, how do I protect my child who hasn't had a vaccine from measles? And everyone's like, get them vaccinated. See,
Yeah.
the thing about it is that MMR, the measles, mumps, and rubella. Remember those two too, mumps and rubella people. Those are out there too now. Um, came after me. It came after, and I got measles. Measles is not a fun experience. It's a horrible experience. I remember it. I even got mumps. Not a good thing to have. Um, the point being is that with the vaccinations, when you declare a disease gone, which we did, but it comes back because of ignorance. And I'm going to say this, and I said it in my video. I feel bad for the kids, for the parents. You got what you deserve. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I apologize. No, I don't apologize. You chose not to treat your child against a disease out there that could bring harm to them in your own ignorance. And if you wanted to say freedom or you're afraid to get autism, you're an idiot. And I apologize. No child, no parent to see a child die. But if you cause the death of a child, my sympathy ends only
And
for
the
the
blood
child.
is on your hands. You know, the people who are anti-vaxxers remind me of the Christian scientists. Now, people
Oh,
they confuse these things. Christian scientists are not Scientology. Two totally different things. Scientology, bunch of crazy motherfuckers. And Christian scientists, to a large degree, a little crazy too. These are the people that believe in not getting any medical care, just praying away any disease. And there have been children that have been taken away from parents who won't get simple operations that would be easy enough, but end up killing the child. Earaches,
mhm.
tonsils, appendectomies. No, we're good. We're not going to go to the doctor. And this is what the anti vaxxers are. We don't have to get the vaccines because God will help us. Well, God did help you by making the fucking vaccines available.
I
The
know.
fact that you didn't recognize that just means you're stupid. And these people will double and triple down until their children die and then make excuses for it. But you know, in the back of their minds, there's got to be some guilt, and I hope you fucking suffer
Yeah.
mightily.
But see, the point about those people, you literally, with the mandatory vaccines before, you could drag them in and make them get their kids
Right.
vaccinated. I know in LA County that they would literally send people out to do it for the sake of it because it was basically either do it or you're going to face the consequences. What
Right.
happened is a few politicians played on that in order to get power. They played on these people's fears and ignorance in order to get power. And that's where we're at right now. It's not that you have anti-vaxxers; those are fine. Those people are going to be who they are. What you
Right.
have is people, powerful people, who take advantage of it. And the thing about it with RFK Jr., he did cause a outbreak on, was it American Samoa, convincing
Yeah.
people not to get the MMR, and many of those kids died. And they asked him about it, and he just like blows it off.
Yeah, he does. But he was
He,
responsible, and the people in
exactly.
American Samoa hold him responsible for it.
Yes. And the point is, what we're dealing with right now is an incompetent government. The first Trump administration was run by an incompetent ass, but the people underneath were career civil servants pushing back and kept everything together best they
Right.
could. Now those career civil servants are gone because they would not serve with them. They all bailed. Now it's all sycophants and incompetence. The
Yeah.
only qualification to serve in the Trump administration is loyalty and syncopathy, period. And look at his cabinet picks. I mean, the Department of Transportation, that guy does never knows what, couldn't point out a train from a plane to save his life. He's only loyal to Trump. The energy guy is a Trump supporter. All of them. And then we get the Cash Patel. Jesus God Almighty. What the hell? UFC? Where did you pull that out of your ass? FBI
Yeah.
agents go through months of training. That rigorous training at Quantico is known to weed people out. You have to know your job. You have to be very smart to be an FBI agent. There really is no dumb FBI agents. You have to have a college degree to be an FBI agent. And you're telling me these people aren't trained, and the only way they're going to be trained is through fighting? What I mean, cage
Well,
fighting?
it's
It's
silly. It's
insane.
WWE bullshit, and that's part and parcel to who Donald Trump is. It's all about show. And let's cut the middleman. Let's fire all the FBI agents. You're going to do it anyway. Let's just hire UFC guys. Then you don't have to fucking train them. Make them FBI agents. They can't be any less incompetent than you are.
But again, what benefit is it? Because it's not the only reason they're doing, because there is no, if I'm a person in organized crime at this point, I'm a happy camper. If I'm a member of the drug cartel, I'm a happy camper. There's no FBI. There's no Department of Justice. You know why? Because they're looking for people who Trump hates. They're not looking for me. Hell, I can spat some money around and get away with shit. That's the thing. All the things that were designed to protect Americans are gone. for a fantasy world that does not exist. And it's going to catch up when you cannot maintain this fantasy forever.
Right.
Something is going to break, and something's going to break badly. And when I talk about letting it burn, it might be the only way, Mike, for these people to finally realize, man, you hitched yourself into something you got to figure out a way out of now.
Yeah.
Because to be right, to own the lives is only going to take you so far when you can't buy bread. I have no place to live, or your children are dying from a disease that you could have prevented, or you can't take anyone to a doctor or hospital because you don't have the money.
Yeah.
Tell me how that's going to benefit your asses. I'm waiting for the
Right.
answer. And I don't get an answer from these guys. You've asked them, what's your answers? Trump
They have no answers.
2024,
Yeah, they're
Trump
stupid.
forever, Trump's your daddy, whatever. Got you.
They get hurt when we call them stupid, but you may not like it and it may not be nice, but it's certainly accurate. You are dumb motherfuckers. Every Trump-fuck I ever talked to cannot answer a question. And some of them will come in the comments and say, well, come on the podcast, let's talk. They never do it because they've got nothing to say. These aren't people who appreciate the policy that Donald Trump has because he has no policies. They are fanboy, pussy ass bitches that like the vibe. That's what it is.
Right.
Well, it's because you think you're an alpha male and you think you're a tough guy. Well, your tough guy president sat there in that Oval Office today talking to Zelensky, and he looked like a little bitch doing it. And he fucked up on top of it.
Yeah, he looked like a little whiny teenager. And then he looked like literally it was like a scene from Mean Girls, and then he had his like partner there, the ugly one who's, in with the clique, just, getting on top. It's not the way you govern. And
No.
I know people don't get it because they've never lived in a sophisticated life. Hey, I'm not sophisticated, but I know how to act in certain places. Okay, I know what I can or can't do. So I know how to be respectful in certain places. Trump has no idea that he's never been diplomatic. He doesn't know what it is to be diplomatic. And I saw that today. And it was like you saw it today. And we were embarrassed.
Well, he's a
For I
pouty
was
little bitch
embarrassed.
if he doesn't get his way.
I was embarrassed for all the presidents, not counting Trump, that came before him. Because even through the bad presidencies, I don't think you would see George Bush act like that. The son. George Bush might have been a lot of things, but he was not undiplomatic. And the point is, it's just you sit and you don't know what to tell people because people say, "What do we do?" I don't know, guys. Other than right now, we're at the point, and I'm going to back up a quick point because we're talking about Republican voters and MAGA and all that. Remember, they're still a minority. The only
Yeah.
reason Trump got into the presidency is because the far left, and I want to talk about something because someone brought it up in the live and we didn't get to it in the notes. The far left decided that they didn't want to vote for Genocide Joe or Kamala Harris because she wasn't going to do anything in Palestine, or they walked away, or they voted for Jill Stein, whatever. And if you motherfuckers keep asking where Kamala Harris is, she's getting her money. Fuck you. You told her to go to hell. She's not coming to save us. You had that opportunity. If I see one or more of those videos, I will come after you hard. But you guys are complicit in this for one reason only. Did you see that bullshit AI thing that Trump posted about Palestine on his thing, Truth Social?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Yeah. I saw
Yeah,
that.
okay.
I mean,
That was
that in itself was fucking embarrassing.
right. But the point is, like, I saw that and I'm going,
Explain what it was for the people who haven't seen it. Explain what it
it
was.
was an AI generated video of Palestine showing that first it shows a child being in the middle of a war and war torn and people dying, and then it shows like this great paradise. He goes, Donald Trump is going to bring Trump's Palestine to Palestine to save the people, and there's a gold statue of Donald Trump on a seashore, and they show all of these things that are going to happen because it's going to be Trump's Palestine. To those people in Michigan, specifically to your Palestinians, How's that working for you?
Yeah.
Do you still support Trump for your protest vote? And to your far left motherfuckers, how's this working for you? I haven't heard a goddamn word out of you, except once in a while to cry, oh, it's not our fault. Yeah, it's your motherfucking fault. You decided to stay home because you wanted a protest vote, or basically you didn't want the black lady in charge. Don't lie to
Yeah.
yourself,
Well, that's
motherfuckers.
exactly right. Yeah. They just
You
didn't
know,
fucking.
you're as racist as a MAGA fuck. I know what you Lati liberals look like. I've seen you, I've spoken to you. Okay? You brought this here. And now I would like to ask you what you're going to do for us now. Are you going to stand up with us or are you going to lay down and die? Because if you're sitting there crying for Kamala Harris to save you, then you are no different than a coward. Get your asses up and decide to join the rest of us who were on the front line until this shit fell apart. And
Let me ask
don't,
you
I mean,
this:
go ahead.
you believe that an old soul says this, and I've said this to a certain extent, um, that it has to burn down and the pain has to be felt before the Republicans react to this sort of situation. Uh, and to an extent, I believe that's true. The question isn't going to burn down. It's how far is it going to burn down? Is it going to burn down to ashes, or is it going to start to burn down, and that's enough to get people to react?
I think we're going to get what happens, and I'm going to use a wildfire as an example. To an extent, a fire is a good thing in a forest. Why? Because a lot of seeds have to be popped open for new growth to happen from a fire. I think if we may see the burnt out trees and everything, but the roots would still be there. We can regrow from the roots. Because understand, the Constitution is our root. It's our tree. For those nerds out here, for us, it's the one tree, the Cimmerillion, the one tree that was dead and then it grew back. That's what's going to happen. Because we're at that point. Because these people don't believe everything's going to happen until it happens. You have to
Yeah.
understand they've lived through this fantasy world that Fox News has fed them for decades, decades, and we kept skirting the edge, but we kept coming back, skirting the edge, coming back. Well, they made a decision on November 5th through the far left not voting and the far right getting into it, enough of them to vote, to decide we're going to take the plunge. We're going to just light it on fire. We're going to burn it. The problem is when you burn a fire, you better have an escape route. They burn behind them. They
Yeah.
burn behind them. So the rest of us are going to take cover. And then after it burns them, if they survive, and then the roots are still there, then we're going to have to rebuild from the roots.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's going to be ugly, and it's going to take a while to rebuild. Like any forest takes a while to rebuild roots. That's where we're at because we can't convince them anymore. Can't even convince the Republican Party. They found an out with that budget, and they went with it, knowing that it's a disaster. They know it's a disaster. They all know it's a disaster, but they don't want to be wrong, and they're afraid of Donald Trump for reasons I have not fucking even figured out. Why are you afraid of Trump? What's he
Yeah.
got?
I don't know
I
what it
mean, he's going
is.
to primary you.
Yeah.
I mean,
The thing,
go ahead.
there there should be a reasonably normal Republican who primary every Trump-fuck Republican in every election, because chances are they're going to win. That's what should happen in the Republican Party. There should be a reasonable part of the Republican Party that primaries every Trump-fuck, because these people are going to take a beating. I have this contradiction in my mind. I keep hearing people say this. Now, when the more reasonable minded people realize they were wrong, we've got to accept them in. And that's a nice way to do things. And that's a reasonable way to do things. But I have a problem with that. You know, like we need them to help us out. Here's the problem I have is even if they're reasonably minded, they cannot be trusted. Every time we've tried to trust a Republican to do the right thing in Congress, they've always failed. They've always shit on us. These people need to be made to be burned and let them burn down and then shun those motherfuckers. People disagree with me,
Right.
but you don't want that kind of damaged property, that fucking tainted material in what's good. Even if they said, we fucked up, we want to be good now. Fuck you. I don't trust you.
No, no, it's you can't trust them because they'll go back to their old ways when they think there's a power vacuum. And also that goes to if it's a Democratic rebuild, it's not with Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders, all you old folks. Because when this burns over, you got to go too. Because your idea of rebuild would be doing the things the other old way, and that ain't going to work anymore. I'm sorry. I need you guys gone. I need new blood. I need people who want to fight. I need people who are going to stand up for America. That includes Hakeem Jeffries. You guys are living in your bubble. Fuck that. Okay, it's time for people like Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Jamie Raskin, these people who would stand up and say the truth and rebuild it the way it was, the way it should
Yeah.
be. Because the way it was didn't work. I remember the 70s with Democratic Congresses. They really didn't get shit done.
No.
They didn't because there was too much money involved. It's time for two things to happen. Once this burns down, one, dark money has to come out of politics. It's got to go away. Two, you got to, we need term limits. I don't want any more fucking Chuck Grassley's in the fucking Senate or in the House. It's got to go. And three, there has to be a voting, standard set of voting again in the United States. Take
Yeah.
it away from the states because you can't trust Alabama, Louisiana, Florida, all that. Sorry, you talk about states' rights? Yeah, states' rights go a certain way when it comes to helping people. States' rights to take things away from people? No, that's illegal. That's wrong. It's unconstitutional. Once you set up a better voting system, get rid of, I'm not even talking about get rid of the electoral college, that'll be a bitch, but reset the standards of voting where everyone literally can register any way they want. No one's afraid to vote like they have right now. Take that
Right.
away from the states, reset that. Take away dark money where if you're a candidate, you better raise money and it better be upfront. And then you go from there and term limits. And I want these old folk out. As an old folk who's got a little more modern mind, no, I want you out. I don't want Nancy Pelosi in charge anymore. I don't want you out. If you are, and I'm going to say this straight up, if you're 75 in Congress, let me put it this way: you're 70 years old in the state in Congress, get the fuck out.
Wow.
Time to retire. I'm
It's
sorry,
fun.
it's time for you to get the fuck out.
I
Period.
love how the Republicans will always say states' rights, states' rights. Well, Pam Bondi, the attorney general, sent a note to Tim Walz, the governor of this state,
Mhm.
complaining and threatening about transgender rulings here in this state. What about state rights, motherfucker? If we want to do that, shut the fuck up. You're the federal government. You have no authority over Tim Walz or what we do in our state if you want fucking states' rights. I mean, that's the thing. They don't want states' rights. That's just an explanation to get to the next step. They want total control. And I got to tell you, there ain't, my wife has tried to get total control over me, and she has some control, but not total. And these
Not total.
motherfuckers are not going to control people in these blue states. They've had enough.
And the main, like the stuff with the main governor was the same thing that with Tim Walz. The problem is that that's not a law. That's just a fucking edict from Trump. And even the NCAA has pushed back on that. It's not a law. They finally realized that's not a federal law. That's not in Title IX law. You haven't changed the law. You just made an executive decision. No, that's not the law. That's what the main governor was saying. I'll see you in court because I don't have to follow that. That's not the federal law. I'm going to follow federal and state law. And our state law says it's cool. And the federal law doesn't say we can't do it. You just wrote it in a fucking executive order saying that's the way it is. And again, going talking about a whiny bitch, she said, no, I'll see you in court. Yeah, well, I'll see you in court. You won't have any federal funding. Yeah, right. Go fuck yourself. See, that's the
Yeah.
thing. You can't. Here's the thing. He can't intimidate people. He can't. I mean, only the sycophants are intimidated by him. Do you think JB Pritzker is intimidated by Donald Trump?
No,
No, hell no. We know that Gavin Newsom makes him look like a pussy. I saw him when he came to California. In he is keeps saying there was just something that came across my thing from Midas Touch is that is Trump really a king? No, he's not a king. If I hear that talk one more time, fuck you. Because the point is, if Trump takes that state, that's the thing that pissed the people off the most when he did that king thing. That ain't a
no,
joke to Americans.
no.
Americans don't joke like that. We
You don't even
joke,
say that.
but and the thing that we are proud of is that I can say fuck the president. I can say that without consequences because I have the right to say it. Like
Right.
you guys had to say the right to say fuck Joe Biden. Hey, that's fine. That's your right. I don't agree with you. You have that right without consequences. He is not a king. And just because people complain about you or make points about you doesn't make that a crime. You want to make it a crime, but it's not a crime. And the idea that you're controlling the press to show up because they have to write nice things about you, how much of a coward and just ego you have no pride. Where's your
Yeah.
fucking pride? I mean, Joe Biden took shit from people to his face and he smiled at him. He smiled at him. You know why he smiled at him? Because he knew who he was and he
Yeah.
walked away from him. Because he doesn't need you.
Well,
He knows who he is.
what you have to understand about Donald Trump, anybody like Donald Trump, a narcissist, um, this is a deep, deep insecurity. And for somebody like me, when I've dealt with narcissists, I see that deep insecurity, and that is a fucking weapon. And this is what I've been saying all the time: embarrass this motherfucker, push this fucker to the edge. He will explode. He will burn himself down. He almost did it today because when Macron told him he was wrong, he just stood there and you could see he was steaming. But when Zelensky did it and said, no, we're not doing that, he lost his shit. Now, if you cause Donald Trump to lose his shit, if you press him from the beginning, he will fucking implode. That's why I say if the media had done their job, they would have pressed him every time he lied in 2015. He would have never been president. But because they love the shit show that ensues every time he talks, they
Right.
just let it go and they let him slide. Time is done. People are suffering.
Yep.
We don't let him slide anymore. We put that fucker up on the post and we embarrass the shit out of him.
The thing about it, you're talking about what the difference reaction between the Prime Minister of England and Macron and Zelensky. Let me be honest. Donald Trump wants to be Macron.
Oh yeah.
He thinks Macron is a man. He doesn't say it, but he knows he is. Same thing with the Prime Minister because he knows they're men. Okay. Um, he knows that if he pushed them, it would not have gone well. He thought Zelensky was a third world dunce, and he found out real quick he is not. That's what pissed him off. Like the Maine governor, no. What do you mean, no? No, no. Well, I said so. Yeah, and because they don't play that, and all of a sudden he found out those people who should have been subservient to him in his mind
Yeah.
bit back. Because I'll be honest, in the European world, when he shows up, he knows he is hated. He knows. And I'm gonna go back to what we talked about before. He knows he's the beta. Each one of those people, and I'm even go back to the first Trump administration, even with Marco, the female chancellor of Germany, he knew he was the beta.
Yeah.
He knows it now. He knows that Macron, the Prime Minister of England, the new Chancellor of Germany, who basically told Donald Trump in his acceptance speech, go fuck yourself. This was a conservative that said that. Okay? They know he is weak. The
Yeah.
Chinese love him because he's a weak ass man.
You
And they
know,
know it.
when you
And
watch that
that's
cabinet meeting or any
bothersome.
of these press conferences, just take a look at Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is a piece of shit. but he's
Amen.
probably the most reasonable of the nominees. He's closer to normal. And whenever you look at his face in those cabinet meetings or in these press conferences, this is a motherfucker that looks like and knows he sold his soul and he's going to regret this. He knows it already and he doesn't have the courage to stand up and do anything. Donald Trump thought he was looking tough in this conference today.
No.
The only tough guy there was Zelensky because he stood up to a dumbass American president and didn't back down. He was the tough guy there. Donald Trump was the whiny little bitch.
Yeah, and got nothing out of it. He got
No,
nothing, and
he
all he
lost
did was,
again.
yeah, and then he showed his cards to the rest of the world who he supports,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be things we'll have to deal with. Look, the hardest thing, and I think last night for all of us in the live and the news that kind of piled up, we were pissed. We're
Yeah.
pissed and frustrated. Um, and I knew it was bad is that before the live started, when Aaron Parnas says, "Hey, I need to take a break because this bad news is driving me nuts," that tells you that even as a journalist, which he is, he also is empathetic. He knows what's going on. The reason that the mass media doesn't we don't watch it anymore because they're not empathetic. They don't show it as it is and give us a relationship to it. Um,
I will
you
I
made a
will I
good
will
comment.
say
Go ahead.
I will say this about Aaron Parnas. No disrespect to Aaron Parnas. I like Aaron Parnas. I think he does a good job, but I ain't taking a break until we fucking won. This is not a time to take a break. We got to
Oh,
keep pushing back. And I know he puts a lot of time into it. He's a
mhm.
younger man. He's a different guy than I am. But the way I grew up is we keep punching until the fucking fight is over.
But you can take an 8 count on one knee and then come back up. That's allowed in the rules.
It's
So I think
loud,
he
but
kind of,
I'm not going to take an 8 count because I'm not going
yeah.
down. I'm going to fucking be
But yeah,
spitting in their face from the beginning.
I mean, if and I think what it is was just, I think a lot of the budget stuff, and I think he was thinking in his mind too that the Republicans can't go on with this because it's horrendous. And now he's seen, I get it, and I'm going to give him a pass because he came back with other stuff. But the point being, you made a comment, and I had said about Joey Reed. I'm sorry, Joey Reed.
Joy
My bad.
Reid, yeah.
Joey Reed. You know, Joey Reed is tough to watch. You know why Joey Reed is tough to watch? Because she don't
Why?
pull punches.
Right.
She is tough on everyone. And I some of the stuff she said is kind of aggravating. I'm going, damn, she's right. Shit. And she is. And MSNBC couldn't take that. And if you look, someone put the people who were let go of MSNBC, there wasn't a white face in there. Sorry, there wasn't a white face in there that was letting go from MSNBC. But you made a good comment, and I thought of when they did that, she's going to become more powerful than they understand
Oh,
because the mass
absolutely.
media is dying. It's dying. Midas Touch, as you said, they are bigger than Fox News.
Yeah.
They're pulling 4 million views a podcast. Um, they just, I mean, they're just doing their job, and they're starting to notice that they're getting heat from a lot of places. Um, but Joey Reid, I mean, Jim Acosta left CNN um, when they were going to demote him tonight and told him, go fuck yourself. He's huge on Substack with Midas Touch. He could
Don
say,
Lemon.
and then, and Don Lemon, God bless that man. When Kelly went after Joy Reid, I loved it because on CNN, when I watched him on CNN, he was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But once he got away from CNN, he just said, fine. When Megan Kelly, if you don't know, she put the video up saying, celebrating the firing of Joy Reid, saying, look at my white women's tears. And
Yeah.
I love what Don Lemon said before he even got into the meat of it. He goes, this is to Megan Kelly. Fuck you. Just straight up. Fuck you. And then also he said something, yeah, on oh, Megan, tell your husband to stop watching my husband. It's bothering me. I thought that was damn. You see, the point is, these people, once you get away from their corporate masters, you really don't want that heat. You really don't,
Yeah.
because now she's going to be set loose when she does her first independent show of anything, not tied to a sponsor, not tied to anything. It's going to be huge. People will find it. People will watch it. And everything that MSNBC wanted, they will not get. That is a dead grape on a line. It
Yeah.
is dying. It is going to it's going to fall off soon. And the minute that the two biggest stars decided to kiss Donald Trump's ass, it was over. I mean, it was over. And then when you did this, thinking that people wouldn't notice, and when Trump is celebrating that, you just you just signed your death warrant.
Yeah.
Um, and the point being is that for all the frustration we have in our little pockets of the world, in our pockets of the internet, we're able to do something we couldn't do years ago. If you think about it, this had happened maybe in the mid 70s, where government it turned, we probably would be a fascist government to this day,
Yeah.
because the people would not have had much of a voice. If the press wasn't what it was in those days, which was the press, if they were like they are now, the government would have, everything would have turned bad.
Yeah.
If you go like with Nixon, it could have gone that way. But now with us and these platforms, even if TikTok goes away, we still got YouTube. You
Yeah.
still have
We
Substack.
still,
You still have all these popping up, and they can't put them out even with X or Twitter, because everyone knows that's a cesspool. Well, everyone
yeah.
knows that Facebook is a cesspool. We've understood that, and so our voices do matter.
Oh, no
It's
question.
hard sometimes because we take this shit personal, and anyone who tells you differently is a lie. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be doing this if we taking this shit personal. My wife said I was telling her how to do a podcast. She goes, "You know, you're doing this, you're going to get us all in trouble. You
No.
know what's going to happen." And the point I thought about that and go, yeah, but it's better than not saying anything. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's
I
the people who don't say anything will have the problem. We're going to
and
wrap things
anything
up
we
here.
okay,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Anything we say is not overly offensive. The only thing that's offensive is to those of us who want to put us down.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
And I
And
don't mind
so,
offending those people.
no, I'm cool with it overall. But yeah, that's don't. It's okay to take a break, guys, and okay to get frustrated. But man, we ain't shutting up. So get used to it.
Yeah, let me just say something about Aaron Parnas before people think I'm disparaging Aaron Parnas. I like Aaron Parnas. I watch Aaron Parnas. But you have to understand, I'm a kind of an outlier. I'm kind of a weirdo here because
Mm-hmm.
most people are on here. Will, for example, and Old Soul and other people, and Aaron Parnas, they do tend to get emotional about this stuff. And for me, I don't know why. If I'm a weirdo, I'm a freak or some sort, I can take the emotions out of it. I don't wear this on my sleeve. I don't
Mm-hmm.
carry this in my chest. I say what I say.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happens, I move on. I never think that the end is near. I know that
Right.
there is something better off in the future, and I don't get emotional about this. And
Mm-hmm.
what I was trying to say is Aaron Parnas has a right to take a rest. He works his
Right.
ass off. There's no question. I won't, because in my head, in my mind, in my makeup, is you keep
Mm-hmm.
fighting until this fucker's done, until
Right.
the fucker cannot get up again. And that's just because I'm not saying everybody else should do that. I'm a
No,
weirdo in that sense. I don't get
no.
emotional about this shit.
I'm the person in my mind with a lot of people that just piss me off is that I would literally take a baseball bat to them. And will I do that? No. But see, that's how. But to get your point, that's who I am. And I don't
Yeah.
think that's a bad thing either, because
If you can
if you
control
don't,
it.
yeah, yeah, if you control, also you care. Because if you know that the one thing that is it is the common thread to all the enemy we have, and they are our enemy, and we are at war, y'all, is that they don't care about others but themselves.
Now, the other
They
thing too
don't
is they're
care.
very emotional and they're very reactive. So if that's how they're behaving, we have to be reasonably minded and focused on what we need to do
Mhm.
because they are very emotional. Donald Trump
And
showed
poke
it
them with a
today.
baseball
He's
bat
very
once in a
emotional.
while.
Yeah, you could do that. I don't
Well,
trust me.
dude,
I felt that
you
way too.
you poke them, you poke them. I mean, you
I
take
do.
a stick and just poke them,
I
and
do.
they don't like it because they can't come back. But yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
It makes sense
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah. And anyway, we're going to wrap things up for the Rational Boomer podcast. Will, thanks for coming on.
No
We
problem.
needed to get this off our chest, especially after what happened during
Mhm.
that press conference. It's just absolutely embarrassing. Uh, I the live got taken down last night for some stupid fucking reason, and so I can't do a live on TikTok um, till March 6th because my
March
appeal
6th.
wasn't accepted. Yeah, March
Hey,
6th. So
if you want, I'm still legal. They haven't caught me yet. If you give me the word, I can host a live and we can roll everyone up. And then
I don't want to
we
make
do
it
it that
hard for
way.
you. What I
Well,
may
hard for
do
why
is,
would that be hard if I have you as a guest? Is that a problem with
well,
TikTok?
if they take you down, I don't know if it's a problem. I don't know if I'm banned from all lives or just mine. But what I may do is I may do a live on YouTube. You know, I
So
think
good
I
luck
can
with
have
that.
one guest on at a time. The one guy I haven't talked too much lately, even though he's been in the lives, is Eric. Maybe see if Eric and I can do a live on
Yeah,
YouTube and
that'll
see what
work.
happens. That might work.
But yeah, if you ever want to do it, we'll give it a shot. But other than that, quick advertisement. You can find me at Binder38 US, TikTok, the same on YouTube. That again, I want to grow. There are a couple of my lives on TikTok if you want to check it out. I am a Blue Sky and on Substack at Binder38 US. Keep the faith, people. We still can win this mother in the end.
Oh, we are definitely going to win. I don't have any question in my mind. Those of you listening, thanks for taking the time. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.